Now we're going to talk a little bit about emphysema. We're going to talk a little bit about what emphysema is and how it works with our body on the cellular level. We're going to talk a little bit about oxygen levels with emphysema and current treatment options for the disease. So emphysema is one of those conditions that's considered COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's a condition where the air sacs or the alveoli in your lungs become damaged. There's a host of things that happen at the cellular level with emphysema. First of all, starting out with elastin breakdown. Elastin is wrapped around each alveoli to assist with gas exchange. Like a worn-out elastic band, the breakdown of this tissue causes CO2 to stay trapped in the alveoli. The inflammatory response. Chronic exposure to irritants triggers an inflammatory response to help combat the irritant. The inflammation causes an obstruction and leads to difficulty with breathing. This is often why a type of steroid is prescribed to lower the inflammation. Oxidative stresses. Our bodies are constantly regenerating cells in the body. Oxidative stress will increase the destruction of the cells, creating an imbalance. Loss of capillary networks. Damage to the alveoli also causes damage to the blood supply or capillaries surrounding the alveoli. This ultimately interrupts the gas exchange. And then mucus overproduction. All these causes that mentioned above increases the mucus production, which ultimately obstructs the airway. Here you can see the difference between healthy lung tissue and one that has emphysema. On the left, you can see well-structured alveoli walls and good capillary flow. On the right, you see the alveoli breakdown, where the alveoli chambers lose structural integrity. The body will redirect blood flow to healthier lung tissue, and the capillaries surrounding the alveoli become dormant. This eventually leads to air trapping, or CO2 trapping in that lung tissue. Here you see how the elastin breakdown surrounding the alveoli. This leads to decreased ability to squeeze the CO2 out of the lung. Mucus collects into the dead airspace and creates an environment for infection. So oftentimes I'm asked, how come my oxygen level based on my pulse oximeter is still good and I'm still out of breath? Well, the big reason for this is the reasons mentioned on the slide. You develop hyperinflation of the lungs because you have air trapping that causes the lungs to expand. This causes added stress to the muscles that help to move the air in and out of your lungs. You develop something called ventilation perfusion mismatch. So in order to have the right mismatch of CO2 and oxygen exchange, the right amount of CO2 has to leave the body for O2 to get in. Well, you end up with CO2 trapping, and oxygen is still plentiful. So your body's still getting enough oxygen, but the CO2 levels are still high in your system. This ultimately increases the work of breathing because you're forced to use what they call accessory muscles, some muscles in your neck, in your chest, and your shoulders. And this puts added stress on your body, and people become more fatigued because the workload of breathing is also increased. Exercise-induced hypoxemia. So as exertion levels go up with walking or doing activities, the system is not able to keep up and the oxygen within the body goes down. This is when supplemental oxygen is required. So this is a case where a lot of people in pulmonary rehab or pulmonary program will require oxygen with higher levels of exertion. So this is a case where oxygen levels do drop, typically below 90% or 88%.